Welcome to FSM After Dark. Richie Lupo here with Kalani Lua. And we're going to jump right into Dallas and the Clippers, Kalani. So I was watching that game, and I'm not going to lie to you, my man Luka really disappointed me. I thought he was going to come out and go off on everybody, and Pandemic P came out and turned into playoff P real quick. What'd you see in that game?
I mean, Luka obviously struggled, but on a bum ankle without Porzingis, your running mate, it's hard to do so. And even though they've given the Clippers a very good series and a very good run, ultimately the team that has the more talent, they're going to pay it out in the end. And look, I think Paul George said it pretty good. It's something that a lot of us didn't want to acknowledge. He was getting good looks. It's not like he was struggling because they were magically defending him in a way that he just wasn't used to. He just couldn't find his shot. And I know it sounds like an excuse, but the reality is this is a brand new environment for a lot of these guys who be playing in the bubble. And for some of them, look, they need certain things to kind of get them going. But he came through tonight, and we kind of saw when Paul George is going on, because we know what Kawhi is going to do. We know what Lou Williams is going to do. If Paul George finds it, the Clippers are going to be one hell of a team to play. And tonight might have been the first time we saw them, I would say, probably at full strength and what they could look like when they're hitting on all cylinders.
And I think I agree with you 100%. And I think the thing with Paul George is you always know you're going to get the defense out of him because you don't necessarily lose your defense. That's effort. And, being in the right place at the right time in basketball IQ. So Paul George has got that. That team defensively, if everybody's on their game, is awesome. The offense can throw you off a little bit, though. If you're not shooting right, I think it starts getting in your head defensively because you start trying to do more defensively. But seeing Paul George shoot like that, it really does. It scares the hell out of you if you're a basketball fan thinking about what that team could really do. Now, the big thing is they don't have the big man, so you look at it that way, but still, it's the offensive part, and their their 1 through 4 defense is really good. I think looking at Dallas, that last game we saw at Luka, that was really a statement game for him to come out in the league and show everybody, hey, I could do this, and it's not just, the Russell Westbrook thing where I don't want to say stat padding, but putting up the triple-doubles and helping his team win, but actually hitting the buzzer beaters, the clutch shots, because listen, that's why we all love Dame, and so sad to see Dame going down too. That is just terrible. Yeah. Get into that in a little bit. But with Dallas, I think the big thing with Luka was seeing him come out like that in that last game, and I thought the same thing would have been Joe is Joe is great.
We have a regular show today.
So I think I'll take it down. So I think that the Luka thing with the last game was really a showing game for him. Knowing he wasn't going to have Porzingis out there with him was, I think, a really big deal, and maybe got into his head a little bit. But I really want to see Porzingis come back and see how this series plays out, because I'd love to see this series go 7. And personally, I think it might, because now you're putting Luka back into a wall again, and that team back into a wall, and they're going to come out. But once again, it's if Paul George plays the way he did without Porzingis, I don't know if they're going to win another game.
Yeah, that's another thing. Luka can come out and do what he has to do. And look, the idea of this whole, of people stat padding, it's to me, I find it to be like, okay, wait a minute, but what am I supposed to do? Am I not supposed to score points? Am I not supposed to get rebounds? Am I not supposed to get assists? I mean, I'm trying to make these plays here. It just so happens I'm doing pretty good at it on this particular night. You can use that motivation of us against the world for only so long. And like I said, at the end of the day, the team with the most talent or the better talent is going to prevail more often than not. And with the Clippers, if they finally have found their stride, it's going to be tough to see the Mavericks get another win here if Porzingis doesn't come back. And even with Porzingis, as good as he is, he's a guy that I still want to see improvements on as far as strength, knowing when to go down low. And at times, I really want to see him just say, I'm bigger and better than most people out here. Let me just take over. And that's something I think a lot of players have to really learn. And unfortunately, you see a lot of – in today's game, you see a lot of guys settling for jump shots. Sometimes you just have to say, I'm bigger and better than you. You're not going to stop me from going to the rim. and we've seen
Bully ball.
You have to. And look, not to make it a Laker thing, but we see it with the Lakers when LeBron and AD decide to go inside. That opens up everything else for all the shooters and them hitting from the outside. But if you're constantly trying to nail it from the outside to get going, you may never find your stroke in time. So for the Clippers, if this is what we're expected to see of them going forward, man, oh man, they are going to be scary. And lastly, when you said about the big man, you really got to look at it. Does anybody in the NBA really have a big man? Yeah, the Lakers got a couple, but they don't play big minutes. McGee and Howard don't play major minutes. So most teams go small ball today anyway. So not having a big man, I mean, unless you're playing the Jazz or the Nuggets, you really don't have to worry so much about the size disadvantage simply because a lot of teams don't have that much size to begin with.
And you saw that worked out with my Celtics and the Sixers there.
Yeah,
Embiid and yeah, you saw how that one worked out. And I think the whole thing is the big man thing is a little overrated. I like seeing it for rebounding purposes, not necessarily as much as scoring in the paint and this and that, but just getting the offensive rebounds and the second chances and all that, because you could really run the score up on some teams, especially if you're dead-eye shooters from the outside. The thing you talked about with Porzingis, to me, if he built his body up the way Giannis did in those first couple of years, you want to talk about a unicorn? This guy'd be getting into like the Loch Ness Monster territory. Scary. Absolutely scary. You'd be talking about a guy 7'3", or 200, and let's say he got up to 260, 265 and can shoot the way he can and then still be able to drive.
Yeah. But no, that's so true. It's ridiculous to see the skill set of some of these players and what they can do. But to what you said about the big man, I don't think it's overrated. I think it's a matter of teams are not utilizing their big men correctly. One thing, a lot of people were hoping Joel Embiid would have did it. Jokic and Denver's not doing it. But can you imagine if you took a tradition? I'm not even going to say Shaq, because at the end, you get a lot of people say, oh, he's just bigger and stronger than everybody. Can you imagine taking a center like Hakeem Olajuwon, Alonzo Mourning, or David Robinson, somebody who knows how to work down low? Granted, they can also step out and shoot jumpers, but a guy who knows how to work down low, Tim Duncan, imagine what they would do in today's NBA. They would dominate down low. And that's something you saw with the Spurs, that for their run, as much as they can also play on the outside, when it came to the playoffs, Timmy's going to be down low, just dominating you guys. And not necessarily dominating you by 40 points. He could do that. But by you collecting the defense to stop him, kicks out to his shooters, get your guys in foul trouble, wearing on you. It's like body punches in a fight, leg kicks in an MMA bout. Eventually, it's going to wear you to the point where you just can't be as explosive as you were early on. So for the big man today, a lot of them, obviously want to shoot threes and be more versatile. But I promise you, if any one of these guys just said, look, if I get a jump shot from the elbow extended and work on 3 low post moves, 1 that's a dominant move, 2 that's my counter, and 3rd that I kind of throw out here and there, I promise you, man, that particular team, if healthy, they will go on a nice run simply because there's no one there to stop them.
No, and that's actually a great point, because you look at today's NBA and who's your big men. A lot of them don't have a ton of shooters around them, or if they do, they got 1 or 2 good shooters. Mm-hmm. You look at a team like the Lakers, and you add another dead-eye shooter to that team. Not saying they don't have good shooters, but you add a real dead-eye shooter to that team. Team becomes really scary when you got one guy out there that is going to drain his open shot. And you talk about that. Imagine the Lakers with a Ray Allen. Go stand in the corner, and we're going to do some stuff, and then when it doesn't work, we're going to kick it to you, and you just make that shot, all right?
Yeah, that would be something. I know he played in L.A. before, and I know, for tax purposes and being closer to his family, but man, if we could have convinced J.J. Redick to come to time with the Lakers, oh my gosh, that would have been something, man. One of the most consistent shooters throughout his entire career. That, to me, I feel like, man, we be almost a hands down favorite to win it all. Obviously, he didn't have the hype coming into the season. But if we had Duncan Robinson doing what he's doing down in South Beach, That's something that look like he came in.
He has been cold. And then you got Jimmy Butler over there that's really hyping these guys up too, and he's bringing a ton of energy in there, and they're loving it. And I
Yeah.
think we were talking about it yesterday with the whole Jimmy Butler and the Philly thing and all that. And I think a lot of that with Jimmy too is you see the type of competitor he is, where these younger guys that he was playing around, they didn't want it, but the Heat. They're going to draft correctly. They're going to get guys in the room that are coachable. They're going to get guys in there that they're going to work with and make them excel at what they're good at. And I think that, to me, is another huge thing in sports that does not get enough recognition of. A lot of guys want to go, oh, this guy's so flashy. This guy's so this. I'm a Jets fan. You talk about, we were joking around with Joe the other day about Patrick Mahomes and being keen on him early. I really was. But a guy I loved was Lamar Jackson. Loved him in college. Thought when everybody kept saying the running back thing and shut up. The kid can play.
Yeah.
I wanted the Jets to draft him. I'm glad they didn't. For a big reason. We would have messed the kid up. Because we would have said, oh, be a pocket passer, then run around and do this, run around and do that. I give all the credit to Baltimore for going all in on that kid and building a offense around him. And I think that's what we need to see more of in the NBA is we were talking about that also yesterday with like Phil Jackson, the triangle. And, he tried bringing that into New York with Melo. And you know what Melo is. Melo's post you up, hit the shot, or, drain some threes. Melo's not this type of guy to run that type of system. And you need specific people, guys that can run that system. So to me, a lot of it is these teams need to stop looking around. And yes, I did admit I'm a Jets fan, Joe. Thank you. I appreciate that. But people need to start looking around and saying, who is the guy that we want? Who's the star we think? And then who's the best coach for how he plays? And let's run it like that. Because, look, that's what the Cardinals did with Kyler Murray, too. You talk about stuff like that. They brought in Cliff Kingsbury and, draft the kid number 1 overall. And now they just added Hopkins to that, too. So you're helping him out more. But like I said, I think in the NBA, that's where I would like to see a lot more teams go down that route. And a team like Philly, you know what you got with Ben Simmons. You know what you got with Embiid. Elton Brand came out today and said he doesn't want to see those two guys go anywhere. He doesn't want to trade them. None of that. So
you're supposed to say that, though. You're supposed to say that. Though.
I mean, I understand that you're playing the media game.
You have to. These guys. You're supposed to say that,
Yeah, and then when the trade doesn't work out, you're like, nah, bro, I was just playing. We were never getting ready.
Hey, trust me, as a Lakers fan, we know how that works out when it gets out that we're trying to trade guys and it doesn't work out. Hey, guys, we were just kidding. We know how that works out. But I completely agree with you, and that's what I was saying on the other show. You got to find guys. The question is, do you find guys that fit your system, or do you make your system fit the guys? You just have to figure out which road you want to go with it in that particular case, and then go from there. And, right down here we got Roland Dub saying, Melo kills the flow of the game. Well, to an extent, yes, we can roll with that. But then you can also say, look, has he been in the right offenses that fit what his skill set can do? Or has he been put in the right positions to succeed with what he does? I firmly do believe if you put Melo on a team, and let's just say, and again, he has to buy into it. So I'm not taking the blame off Melo here. But if you told Melo, you can play how you play, but you got to be our sixth man. You got to be the sixth man. You can play how you play. Same way we see Lou Williams and when he was in the league, Jamal Crawford. They're not coming in running the offense for the most part. They're coming in looking to get straight buckets. If you tell that to Melo and you utilize him with the second string and he buys into it, he can play the way that he plays and it'll be just fine. So
let me ask you a quick question.
Go ahead.
Do you think if Melo bought in the way he has now with the Trailblazers and having a role, do you think if he did that with LeBron back in the day when they were going to try and team up, and let's say they did go to not New York because they wouldn't have won anything because that's just New York. Let's say they went to Chicago though and they teamed up with like Derrick Rose or something. Or even, they went down to Miami with Wade and Bosch wasn't in the picture. Do you think Carmelo would have been like they would have won a bunch of championships together? You think he would have been a better player in a positional role like that?
I think when doing that, you have to sell the idea of what everyone has to do. One of the reasons the big three in Miami worked is because all three guys were bought in that they're not going to take max contracts right away. They're going to take a little bit less so that it can be spread out and get guys in here. For Melo at that particular point in time, I don't know, because being the type of player he was with his personality, I don't know if he would liked being in that Chris Bosh type role. Dwayne Wade showed that he'd be willing to hand over the keys to the Ferrari to LeBron in Miami. Not a lot of players are willing to do that. I mean, if you just go through the history of guys who have teamed up, how many can we say the star that was already on the team deferred to the new star that came on the team? Not a whole lot. So it's hard to say if Melo would have did that one. I would say this. If it was just Bron and Melo, let's just say it was two of them, not a big three, but those two, I think it would have worked out. Because for someone like Melo, just like we see with other star players, you got to be on his level or above for him to like take what you're saying as no. And
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like it's one of those where you got to be on my level for me to hear what you're saying. Let's say if he went somewhere like, no disrespect, but let's say he went to Boston when KG and Pierce were older, it'd be kind of hard for him to buy in because in his mind he's like, yeah, but you guys are gonna be here for the next couple of years. You guys got maybe 3 more years left in you.
Plus what KG said about his wife. I'm sorry. Yeah, KG didn't have anything very nice to say about Lala, so I don't think that was very polite either. I think I might have lost Kalani here for a second. But I do agree with him about the whole Melo going to Boston thing. I don't know if it necessarily would have worked out perfectly just because of those guys were a little older. And I don't know if you caught me there, Kalani, but I said about what KG said about Melo's wife. I don't know if that would have worked either.
Yeah, you know what?
It'd be pre.
I should have thought of another team instead of that. But you know what I'm saying? Like even though that those guys are Hall of Famers, they weren't on his level at the time. So for someone like LeBron, yeah, he could possibly say that. And you know what? It is possible that a team with that has Melo on the roster doesn't win. But you also got to admit, if Melo goes on a team, is that team really even consider? Like when he went to the Rockets, were they really championship contenders? I mean, were they really? We could have said, well, the year before, a lot of teams who the year before was something, and the next year aren't.
They weren't coming through Oakland or Golden State. They weren't coming through the Warriors either, though, that easily.
Yeah, well,
we all know that.
No, and that is true. You know, a lot of times we look at what you do on this team, and we don't look at, okay, but does that make you better than this particular team? Hey, they weren't going to get past Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this: if Melo would have joined the Lakers, let's say if the Lakers signed Melo instead of Jared Dudley, yeah. And the Lakers win.
I think they're beating themselves up about that one.
I'm just saying. So the idea that a team wouldn't win without him, with Melo on the roster, that remains to be seen. But till this day, yeah, that's been the case. But
I'm glad Melo got his shot, though. I am glad Melo got his shot because he showed he wasn't washed. He could still hit shots. He could still play ball. Like we talked last night, if you could ball, you could ball. So he showed he could still play ball. And, I mean, for him, it's sad to see Dame go down and see that series not play out a little better. Because to me, personally, I want to see every game. I want to see every series go 7 games because I just want to see as much basketball as possible.
Be nice.
But that's just me, though, too. And I really wish that Melo would have gotten to play with LeBron in his career. And who knows? He might get another shot next year. We don't know.
It'd be possible. Look, I know it's a completely different circumstance. I know. But look how Melo changed his game on the Olympic squads. All the years that he played, Melo was praised for his defensive efforts in practice and in the games. He played the power forward position. He do what he does. So Melo can adjust his game. It's also a matter of, like how you said, Rich, well, we're in New York. Why am I going to adjust my game here? I'm just going to try to get buckets and cash these checks. These guys ain't going to do nothing. So, I'm not saying it's the right mindset, but sometimes you got to look at it and say, I'm going to get mine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but people also knew when you went into Madison Square Garden, the only time that Knicks fans thought they legitimately had a chance was when they had that Amari Stoudemire, Tyson Chandler, J.R. Smith, Melo. But there was still so many stacked teams in the NBA. You had Kobe's Lakers. You had the Boston team. You had the Heat in Miami. I mean, there was teams everywhere. And that was the only time they had a chance. So people knew when you went into the Garden, you were going to see whoever the Knicks were playing, and you were going to see Melo try and put up 30+ and just get buckets.
The Garden is a weird place because, it's the most famous arena in the world. Yeah, it's the most famous arena in the world for its opponents. If you look at some of the best Garden moments, they're all basically by guys.
Other people.
Yeah, by other people. I think, but, obviously.
That's like the Cleveland Browns being the greatest football stadium in the NFL.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because every team that comes there, they break a record. Don't get me wrong. I know Bernard King did some great things there. Yeah. Willis Reed, Earl the Pearl Monroe, Walt Frazier, they did some great things. I know Ewing has some big moments, even though, like I said yesterday, he's really, if he's top 10 centers, he's literally at the bottom of the of those 10 centers. I mean,
he's the O of the 10.
Yeah, he might be the O in 10. Okay, so. That's no disrespect. It's just a fact,
But that's the other thing, though, too, is a lot of those Knicks teams, like I talked about, even 2012 around there, you go back to all the teams you talked about, they always had to deal with some other ridiculously stacked team at the time. Yeah. Or somebody that was just way better.
Yeah, it would be. It's a place where star players seem to really find a groove. Kevin Durant, Giannis, Miller, Kobe, Bron. It's just a place where, and obviously I know because of the energy and the history. Here's what I do not get. This baffles my mind, okay? And this, this is slightly off topic, but like the Knicks are like the number one sports franchise.
Money.
Yeah.
$4 billion plus.
Yeah, and see, what I don't understand is this. You guys say, well, let's get rid of James Dolan. Why would James Dolan sell the team if I'm number one? See, this is where I say, as fans, we have so much more power than anyone else, than what people like to think. Literally, if we
don't go to the Garden.
Yeah, don't go to the Garden. Don't buy new Knicks jerseys. Oh, I got to get an RJ Barrett jersey. Why? He's going to be there for the next 4 years, guaranteed. Then the 5th-year option kicks in. Then they re-sign him. What do you need it right now for? What, are you going to buy it and sell it the next week? No. But if you do that, and I understand, life is short, especially this year. We're finding that out very much so than years past. Life is short, man. You only get one chance, this and that. But if I'm a season ticket holder, man, look, I'm not going to half these games. I'm not going to a lot of them. Once you start hitting their pockets, and we've seen it across the board in every avenue of life, once you start messing with the church's money, the church starts listening, and then you start changing things. But why would I change if you guys are still coming in, buying these money, buying tickets to the games, watching me on TV, buying my merchandise? Why would I sell it? You're just fed in my bank account. So,
you know what the other problem with that is, though, Kalani, real quick? The big issue with that is, yes, you're going to have a lot of the season ticket holders that, no, they don't buy, season tickets anymore. The issue is, some people do, obviously, but the issue is, it's almost like here in Vegas, where before they ever had a sports team, I always thought this place would be great for any sports team, especially basketball, though, or baseball, because of how many games there are and how many out-of-town games there are. With New York, you have people that come into New York and they want to go to Rockefeller Center, the Empire State Building, Little Italy. And then if they're a sports fan, they want to see a game in Madison Square Garden. I mean, listen, I'm one of those people, and thankfully none of my family's watching this, but they know it anyway. Well, not right now. They're not watching it. Maybe later. But they know it anyway. If I come to New York for something, they ask me what sporting event's going on, because I do not go to New York anymore unless there is some kind of a sporting event going on. But that's a thing that people do. They come there to see everything New York has to offer, and the Garden, in an iconic place where everybody's favorite player on a different team goes off on the Knicks. And it's a circus up there. And that's the big thing is people would have to just stop going to the games as out-of-town fans. The people in there would have to stop going. I'm pretty sure he owns the Rangers too, because it's the whole Madison Square Garden thing. So you'd have to deal with that part of it as well, and then all the events they do in there. And it's the world's most famous arena. So, like you said, getting him to sell it's going to be very hard. It's selling a golden ticket, basically. You got a trash team. You don't have to work to make it good, and you're still packed out.
Exactly. And that's the thing. If you guys want this team to be good, you want new ownership, you got to be able to send a message, not just by tweeting or doing interviews or podcasts, but if you guys want to come on the After Dark podcast, we'll be more than willing to have you on here. But you got to be willing to make a stance. And yeah, out of town fans to do it, but you're not about to get, I don't know how much Madison Square Garden packs, but you're not about to get 15,000 Milwaukee Bucks fans in Madison Square Garden every time that Giannis comes into town. You'll get a good amount for sure. But if the locals stop going to as many games, I'm not saying go stop completely because that's just not realistic. But if they said, okay, we're going to literally not come to half these games, I promise you, in about a year, the NBA probably going to start looking into it and say, hey, man, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean?
And they'd have to hit those big ticket games, your Laker games, your Heat games, Boston, and, Houston, Milwaukee, like you said, any of those big games where they're making crazy money, those are the ones they got to go after and not show up to. And you know who I would love to see buy them more than anybody, just because I think they run an organization well, and I know I'm biased, but the Yankees. I would love to see the Steinbrenner family, because God knows they have the money to step in there and, make a run at that team. What's funny to me is we talked about it a little bit the other day, but some of these other people going in to buy the Knicks, who would you like to see if they had a run at it, go after them?
If they had a run, that's tough because, like how you said, the Steinbrenner family, there's not a lot of individuals or one particular family that could just say, yeah, I got the money to buy the team. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of Mark Cubans running around. You see what KG's trying to do. He'll be the face and the name, but it's part of an ownership group. Like it's me with the team. But it would be nice if, it would be nice to see, no, because he's got the Kings. I was going to say, it'd be nice to see someone like Shaq,
he does have the Kings, though.
Yeah, but so I remember he had the Kings. I'd have to look into it. You know what? Maybe he could do it. What about LeBron? He gets out. He hasn't played for New York. But
I've said that so many times, Kalani, that I think he would make a run at ownership, big time,
but
because he's got the
Cavs. Since that's his own team, and buy it out of old boy, or would he not want to give him that fat check and he want to get another team? Because Jordan went in, and he got the hometown team. KG, is not his hometown, but that's where he spent most of his career. He's getting a hometown team. So it seems if LeBron did it, Cleveland would be a realistic possibility. I
could see that. I just think I don't think Gilbert would ever sell it to him. But
it'd be interesting. Because it's almost like that'll almost be like a checkmate move from both guys, right? It'd be like LeBron kicking him out the building, but then he's leaving with a fat check like, thank you.
I'd almost like to see him go after the Knicks more, just for the sole purpose of, could you imagine what his legacy would be like if he turned the Knicks around post-career? It'd be unbelievable. And I don't mean turn him around and win a championship. I mean turn him around and become a winning culture in New York. Because you think the Knicks are worth money now? Imagine if the Knicks were a winning team.
Yeah. You know what? Look, regardless of which teams you like and don't like, all sports across the board are always better when your big teams are doing well. The NBA is better when the Lakers, the Knicks, the Bulls, the Celtics, when they're doing better. A couple other teams as well. Football, it's much better when the Niners, the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Patriots, when they're doing good. Baseball, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, when the Cubs, when they're doing good, the entire sport is so much better because it brings in more casual fans and it brings in more eyes. It draws in more hardcore fans. And then, like you said, Rich, it makes those games where you're taking on other good teams that much more special. As great as it would be to go to the Garden to see my Lakers play, how much better would it be if the Lakers were taking on a really good Knicks team? Because then it's not just, oh, well, we're going to thrash them. I just want to see about how much. Now it's like, nah, man, it's about to be a battle right here. Oh, when Giannis takes on the Bulls, man, D Rose and Giannis about to go at it today. You know what I'm saying? So it's also very important from that perspective.
No, and that's very, very true. And I would not want to know what it would cost to see a good Lakers team versus a good Knicks team in Madison Square Garden because the nosebleed seats would be ungodly.
You'd have to sell a kid. You'd have to sell a kid for that, especially in today's times, man. You know, with everything that's going on, you have to get rid of one of your kids. Get rid of
I tried 1 year. I was up there for Christmas time a couple of years ago, and I actually tried going and seeing a Knicks game on Christmas Day just because I thought it was cool. I've watched the Knicks play on so many Christmas days. And just it'd be cool being in Madison Square Garden on Christmas Day. Man, I went to go look at it. The cheapest seats in there were almost $400, and I'm laughing to myself because I'm like, I like the Knicks, and I'm like, this team sucks. Who's gonna pay $400 to go in there and see him play on Christmas Day? But you got people in New York that got a lot of money, bro. And actually, another thing you brought up earlier that I would love to see more than anything, but I don't think it would happen because Shaq. Well, not Shaq, but the Kings just built a new arena. I would love to see the Kings come out here because of the play on the whole playing card in Vegas and Shaq being out here. Oh, my God. That would be the coolest thing in the world to see them come out here.
He also guest DJs at Encore Beach Club from time to time, you know, when things are up and popping. So it will be work there. And it's funny you bring that up because the team I honestly thought would have been perfect for here was the team we just saw with a big win tonight was the Clippers. I thought the Clippers would have been a fantastic one here because even if they win a title this year and next year, you're never gonna get out of the shadow of the Lakers. All the banners they got, the Hall of Famers, the great players, the mystique, Showtime, etc., etc. You're never gonna be able to do that.
That's probably the best one I've ever. I'm being honest with you, Kalani. That is probably one of. You talk about moving teams. James Dolan, or not James Dolan, Jesus, I can't get this guy's name out of my head. Steve Ballmer. He just bought the old Forum. Yeah. He could have built a brand new arena out here. Would have got some help from the city, I'm sure. And not that they even had to, because you have T-Mobile. They could play in there.
They don't even need to.
They don't even have to build an arena. Yeah, you got T-Mobile. So, I mean, he could have dubbed it up if he wanted to, thrown some money at it. It's a brand new arena, but if you wanted to, you could have did something, built a parking deck. Who cares? Whatever. But no, you say that because really you're not moving the team far.
Yep.
You're still in a similar market. You're still going to have those fans that the diehard ones will come out here. It's not a long drive or a plane ride. Yep. So, especially for big games. I think that's one of the best ones I've heard, man. And to me, he's one of, in basketball, him and Mark Cuban are up there, two of my favorite owners. Just Steve Ballmer's energy, man, is unbelievable. And he loves the game.
Yeah.
And you see a guy like him, to me, Steve Ballmer is the kind of some similarities, not all of them, but like the Jerry Jones of basketball. Where like he'll dump the money into his team and his people and the arenas and all the amenities and all that kind of stuff just to see that Clippers name do well.
Well, he's definitely taking the blueprint that Mark Cuban said, and he's going about it the same way, not just with the cheering on the sidelines, but also how much he's investing into, training facilities, locker room and whatnot, and doing all that. And that's why I thought Vegas would have been the perfect spot. You built a brand new legacy here. You're the first and only basketball team here, so you don't have no competition. Football's here, but that's completely different. That, and whatnot. And now it's like, okay, now we have these original teams here. You and the Golden Knights are Las Vegas's first pro teams here that haven't been anywhere else outside of home. And like you said, it's not a far travel. You're still on the West Coast. I thought it would have been really good for them to do something new because even with doing the new Forum, I mean, look, unless you go berserk with the arena and you guys do a run of like, I don't know, 4 championships, and let's say a 10-year run, even then you're still not going to outshine the Lakers. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to do that. It's a Lakers town. Look, the Raiders have not played in LA in what, close to 30 years. If not that, they still have more fans there than the Chargers do.
Okay? Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Now, granted, that's also a fault of the Chargers for not being that good of a franchise getting it done. But
they didn't have fans in San Diego.
No, they didn't. No, well, you know what? They didn't. But at the same time, if you've been to San Diego, there's a whole lot to do and enjoy down there than going and sitting in that hot sun. So I don't blame them for the most part. But yeah, man, I think it definitely would have been nice to see. I don't mean to be distracted, but I got the replay of the Clippers and Mavs game on. Boy, Chris Webber done slimmed up pretty nicely there, boy. He said, "Hey, I ain't playing no more. I ain't got to play
quarantine, bro." He's been playing 2K in quarantine and working out, it looks like.
and you know what? I know some people may not like it, but I definitely like him on doing commentating. Him and Jim Jackson. I've seen him recently here. I really like them on the commentating, man. And I'm really liking that a lot of these players are starting to get into that. We didn't see it as much before. We kind of saw the same rotation of former players doing this. I like that we're starting to see other guys doing it too, and they're showing that, hey, we're pretty good at this too. I like it.
Oh, I love Chris Webber, Reggie Miller, Greg Anthony. A lot of the guys they got doing it.
Yeah, Greg Anthony's really good too. Yeah, so is Reggie.
Kenny Smith and Shaq and Chuck and Ernie. That's still to me is one of the best. Watching those guys go at it, they are phenomenal. You talk about quick stuff. I got up here the Vegas Golden Knights game on right now, and wow. You saw their game, the last game they had, the 5-0 game.
Oh yeah, they went out there and showed their ass at that time.
Yeah, tonight is not the same game. They are
sports for you.
Oh yeah, that's sports. That's why you got to love it. You never know what's going to happen any day. Yeah, they're down 4-1 right now with about 13 minutes left in the third.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about sports. And look, I get it. You could kind of predict it and be like, okay, but for the most part, man, unless it's one team severely stacked, like we saw the Warriors for a couple of years with KD on the squad. Unless you're severely stacked, man, you just never know. You just never know how it's going to be. And it's still amazing that for the Golden Knights to be this young in their franchise history, they're this good. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, the historic run that they went on at first was tremendous. But to still keep that up and to show that it wasn't a fluke, it wasn't a Cinderella story. No, we're legit. We are legit out here competing. I understand that with the way the draft went for them being an expansion team, as some of these guys go on with contracts and age and retirement, how will they be able to replace them? I get that, but man, I'm really enjoying the fact that they put a solid team together that wasn't just a one-year wonder, but a consistent contender year in and year out. A lot of fun.
Right from the get-go, like you said. And it was funny, one of the things I actually brought up to my roommate, because he lived out here for a while, and then went to North Carolina and then came back out here. But when he was out there, we were watching Vegas start up, and we were living on the East Coast. And it was funny. I said to him, I said, man, one of the worst things that could happen is you guys win a championship your first year. Why is that? And I was like, man, you think about it then, because now the expectation is, well, you did it your first year. How hard could it be?
Yeah.
You guys got to just you could keep doing it. You did it your first go around.
Oh yeah.
Now the expectation's there. The best thing that happened to them, honestly, was losing that first one, but staying competitive, like you were saying, year in and year out. Because now it showed, okay, you weren't a one-hit wonder. You weren't a fluke. You're a well-built organization with good leadership. And this is going to be something you're going to see probably moving forward year in and year out consecutively. And they really do look good. And the one thing I've noticed with them every year, no matter who's playing or who's coaching, is they're a very, very good scoring team. And this new guy, the what's his name, Lerner, the goalie, he has been phenomenal. Tonight he's having a rough go at it, but
happens, man. That happens from time to time. Just sometimes it's not your night.
No, absolutely. And I'm excited for this city that they are getting teams, like the Knights, like the Raiders. More than anything, though, I want to see them get basketball and baseball here so bad because I think this would be a great baseball town, and I think it already is a basketball town, and they just don't know it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, you know what? No,
Summer league.
this is still a basketball town. Now it's just a summer league, and when the men's Olympic team comes here, but there's still people who remember the Running Rebel days here, and we saw how the town was jumping back then through documentaries and whatnot from there. So it definitely will be something with the baseball team. Let me ask you this: is it an indoor a stadium that they play in, or do they
You
play
have
outside?
to.
Yeah,
You have to.
You got to remember what type of weather we in.
You're playing right.
Diamondbacks, the Diamondbacks in Arizona, they play outside, if I'm not mistaken. So if we're right next door, do we also play outside?
No, you gotta. Now you have to build a dome here. There's no way. I don't see it. But actually, you laugh though. Funny enough, a guy I would love to see buy a team and move them out here. Is Steve Ballmer. He's somebody I think that one obviously has the money. One of the few people in sports that could buy a team in just about anywhere. But I think he would set up and build something really nice out here for them. And I do think they could have. You know what? I don't even know, man. They might not necessarily need a dome if they actually built some kind of cool top, like awning, cool design, like an Art Deco style, not Art Deco, but like a really modern style designed arena. I think that would work for them. The Kalani froze on me. Joe's crying up as the Dodgers just tied the game up versus. Oh boy, that is rough. Dodgers Giants. Oof. Yeah. Sorry, Joe. Joe's having a rough one with that. But yeah, I don't know if you were back now, Kalani.
I'm back.
All right. No, I was saying I would love Steve Ballmer to come out here and do that because I think they would have set up something good, and I think this place would have done well. And also the whole, like I said, I think they could do something with shading and maybe not actually have to make it a full dome, but just do some kind of something modern. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's different. I mean, look, I know it would cost. It just wouldn't make sense cost wise, but man, with the light show they do on Fremont Street, that'd be kind of cool if they did something like that here. Maybe not for the entire game, but during the seventh inning stretch or whatever, that they have a little light show that goes on. And again, I understand cost wise. I'm just speaking as a fantasy idea from a fan.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool to see or whatnot. Hey,
yeah, come on, Jeff Bezos, open the checkbook.
Hey, Steve Ballmer could have did all that. Oh, Jeff Bezos ain't cutting up with no checkbook. If anything, he tightened it up a little bit more. Oh, you guys want some water? Taking that off the damn building too. How crazy is it that as much as we're in the cancer culture, no one's trying to cancel Amazon for hazardous work environment. None of their buildings have AC. Well, I wouldn't say none of them, but I do know.
Convenience, Kalani. That's why nobody in the cancel culture, nobody canceling Amazon because you know what? As much as we live in that culture, if it inconveniences them, guess what? Their fucking stance on shit changes real quick. I like getting my shit delivered to my house, not having to go out.
Yeah, and look, I'm not no saint or nothing, but I've never used Amazon delivery.
Me neither, man. Honestly,
I've never used it. Not nothing against it. I go to the store. And get it. I had Amazon Prime for like a good 6 months. Watched a couple movies and shows, and then I got rid of it because I wasn't watching it as much. There's so many streaming services, but it's just crazy how that is and whatnot. How like that, like you said, but due to convenience, we'll look the other way.
And it is because it's funny. Like I don't order stuff from there ever. I go to the store for everything. I drive a lot around during the day, so if I got to go get something, I just swing by the store. But like, my roommate's girlfriend, she gets packages from them like every other day. I swear she's keeping them solely in business. But no, it's funny though, man, because there's a lot of people that are like that. My sister, she lives up north. She's in New York, so through this whole COVID thing, she was getting food delivered Household items delivered. I mean, shit, she got wine delivered.
No, I mean,
Yeah, like
I get it, man. You can order anything off of there. Shit, I think you can order a stripper off of there, and she'll come to the door, and you just open up the blinds, and she's on your porch dancing. I mean,
what'd you say that number was?
it is a major convenience, and especially in a time like this, I definitely get it and whatnot. But look, we talk about bringing teams here. Ballmer could have did that with the Clippers, man. He could have honestly did that with the Clippers. You know, obviously when they are good, the Phoenix Suns in their market, they do well there. But you know, what about them? Do you maybe move them? You know, Phoenix is nice, but it's right next door and it's in a bigger market. So maybe you move them. I don't know. I don't know. It's tough.
I would like to see an expansion team with them. Maybe bring in a new team out here and possibly move a team back to Seattle.
Oh, you talking about the forbidden land of the NBA? Yeah, they don't talk about those parts anymore. Although I am hearing rumblings that Kevin Durant wants to be part of a group that brings a team back there. So look, obviously as times have changed, the
owner player.
Yeah, the finances of these athletes have changed. We're seeing a lot more athletes want to get involved in more management and ownership and whatnot, which is great to see. So in the next coming, in the next 10 to 12, 20 years, we're probably going to see a totally different landscape when it comes to sports ownership. Funny how we're only hearing about these former athletes' ownership in baseball, in management, in baseball, and in basketball. There's another certain sport we're not really hearing that from. I wonder why.
Yeah, the back room that the NFL Illuminati.
yeah. That's it's very weird.
I loved seeing Patrick Mahomes buy into the Royals. I actually joked around about it with Joe about the whole player manager thing, that if there was ever a thing where football didn't play one year or something, or if Patrick Mahomes just wanted to full D on that shit, or Bo Jackson that shit and play both, he's somebody I think could actually do it. The kid was really, really good baseball player. I mean, phenomenal baseball player. But that would be something cool to see. I think another thing that would actually be cool to see, and I'd love to know your opinion on this, what about, because of their recent, how well they've done in the last few years, and then the last two, especially this year and last year, what about another Canadian basketball team?
That could certainly work. I think when they first tried it, it was something brand new. And oftentimes when you try something brand new, it's a foreign concept. So people are like, wait, what's going on? And, I've never been to Canada, but from what I understand, Toronto is like the more Americanized city than a lot of other places in Canada. So it makes sense there that it's like, okay, we're going to put it here. I would say if you go that route, it just has to be location. You got to figure out where exactly do we put this second team. And
I think Montreal is the only place. I've been to Canada a bunch. I used to race snowmobiles up there and stuff, and I used to go all the time. But I really think that
be easy, brother.
Have a good night, buddy. And I really think that Montreal would be a thing, because there's a whole thing going on right now with the Blue Jays, with them talking about them splitting time in St. Pete and Montreal moving forward. Because they want a team up there. Now, another one I actually was thinking about too, which I think this might happen with every professional sport right now, Mexico City teams, because they've been pushing a lot with playing basketball games, baseball games, football games in London and in Mexico for the last, 4 years they've been doing it. And now moving baseball over there. Baseball was huge there. That Yankee Red Sox game was unreal. Yeah. That place was packed out. And then you see the football games, they got upset because they couldn't play that football game there last year. I think it was the Chargers and Chiefs, maybe? Rams and Chiefs. I think
it might be the Rams and Chiefs. I also know that the Raiders were going to play a game there, I think, against the Texans. It was the Raiders and the Texans that they were going to play there as well, but unfortunately due to weather, it's pretty bad. Look, the UFC has gone there for I believe, one or two events already. They've gone there. So, look, the international market, man, it's something to tap into now that you've established yourself and you see with the power of the internet and social media hey man, your sport is being watched everywhere, so why not see if you could venture off into that particular territory?
And I think Mexico and Canada are your best bets. The one thing with London, I know the NFL is pushing hard for London. I feel like the problem with London is a scheduling logistical nightmare, especially playoff times, because how do you have a playoff game where you're jumping back and forth in a day with a day off? The traveling, the logistics and travel would be insane. So to me, London just seems really hard unless you've got multiple teams in London. Yeah. And the reason I say that is because then you could send 2 teams over there. You play this team, you play this team, then next week you play this team, you play this team, then you guys get your bye. Now you're gone. You're out of London. Yeah. Then London plays 8 games at home straight. Then they leave and they come to the U.S. for 8 games.
I mean, it's like you said, it's a logistical nightmare because that's the furthest travel anybody would have to do, and it is tough. And you know, look, we're already hearing about these players complaining to an extent about being in the bubble and away from their family and friends already, and that's in the U.S. Imagine, like you said, I got to go somewhere now to another country for 2 months and playing NFL games. And look, I've said it on here before, football players are not the brightest out there. So not being away from I gotta be away from family that long. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty rough on them and whatnot, man. It's gonna be a lot of trouble that we're gonna see them in. That's tough, man. That's tough. You really have to. I mean, it wouldn't be fair for the London team, but I'd almost say, man, you got to make sure every team you playing is either coming off a bye or has a bye the next week. You know, it has to be split and whatnot just because of the travel. I don't know, man. I don't know. You know what? In a way, I get putting it over there, but like you said, unless you guys are willing to put multiple teams there, I would say for now, just keep it doing what you guys are doing now. You know, keep it the way. In fact, I would even say, why not start off the season like that? Or why not start off the first week of the season? Everyone's fresh. Why not go over there the first week of the season with a couple teams and get it out the way now? Unless there's a scheduling conflict with, you know, their soccer teams or whatever. I understand that's a sport, but why not get it out the way early instead of waiting to mid-season and then it becomes like a real inconvenience for I don't know.
I actually think I don't disagree with that. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea maybe week 1 or week 2, and then somewhere in the middle of the season send a team over there again. And then really play it like that and see how that works out. And then, like I said, if you have a team like the Jags and Shad Khan, their owner, he's been dying to move them to London forever, and you see it's like you've been, because here's the other thing we know. When the NFL comes over there, yes, of course you're going to pack the stadiums out because they know they're not going to see this all year long. Yeah. So it's one of those, if you can send multiple games over there a year and you're packing them out every time for years on end, then yeah, I think you got a real run at bringing some teams over there. Or another thing is you start up a couple of teams over there and maybe have some kind of a play-in tournament. I don't know. There's that'd be hard too, but there's a lot of options they have. But I just feel like at this point, North America, Mexico, the United States, and Canada are your best bet to see maybe new expansion teams or teams that might get moved. And I don't know how many more teams we're going to see get moved, but I do think we're going to start seeing more expansion teams, just like the hockey team up in Seattle, the Kraken.
No, that's true. No, that's so true. And I'm very interested to see how they turn out things early on. You know, I obviously it's a once franchise thing, but you saw what the Golden Knights were able to do. Can it happen? You know, the blueprint's been laid out on what type of players and how you want to go about it. Can they replicate it? Now, as we're talking about teams moving, here's what I would like to see. Instead of moving to a different country or whatever the case may be, how about we do something about switching around these divisions? How about we build some new rivalries, some new matchups, you know? I'd like to see it. There should be, I want to say maybe a 10 to 12-year limit on the divisions remain the same. You know, there's nothing wrong with trying something different. These divisions weren't always the same. In the 90s, they were different. 80s, they were different. There was a time where the Raiders were in the NFC, and they were in the same division as Seattle. So,
the NFC East having Dallas makes complete sense.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're going to have all the teams up in the Northeast. And then, we're just going to throw the team all the way down south in there. Yeah, completely. I would certainly love to see a redistribution of the divisions. So that we and look, if you want, you could keep 2 teams in the division already, just for normality, just for reference, and bring in 2 others, or just completely switch it all around.
What about a lottery? And I don't mean a lottery like worst team gets the best chances. I mean straight, just pick out of a hat. This is your division.
Yeah, no, you could do that. That's certainly, there's obviously going to be a bunch of conspiracy theories about that particular.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what? With the type of teams they have, you could almost do a geographical one, a little bit opposite of what you have now. For an example, you could do one where you could say, okay, what if we took Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, and let's say Tennessee or Atlanta, or something like
Arizona.
that. Or I was going to say, or Arizona. We put you guys together now. So Arizona, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans. Bam. Now we're going to put you guys together. We could do Seattle, San Francisco. No. You know what? I really want to switch it up with all the guys. I don't want too many teams being together. We could do Seattle. We could do the Chargers. And I got to think who else you could do. Because Denver and San Diego. I'd have to look back. You know what? You could damn near do an all Florida one. Jacksonville, Miami, Tampa Bay, and throw in maybe North Carolina, the I-95 division. You could do
or
something
Georgia
like
or Atlanta. I mean, you could go. Yeah, you could really go that way.
Yeah, so I would just like to see a mix it up. We'll see some new rivalries, some new matchups, and then for the rivalries that we already have established, those will be your single season games that you play. Because even though it doesn't make sense in the division wise, the NFC East games are always big. Giants against the Eagles, Giants against the Cowboys. So you want those matchups. It's just a rotating year. 1 year, Dallas goes to Philly. The next year, Philly comes to Dallas. And you just keep that rotation. You got to play 16 games with your division games. That's 6 games. There's 10 other games you can fill in. Let's say 3 of them are dedicated one per year to your former division rivalries. That way you can still get those going. You play another division, bam. What's the issue?
What about a Northeast division? The Bills, the Jets, the Giants, the Patriots.
See, something like that would be awesome to see in that particular nature. It makes sense. It's new rivalries. You throw some new blood in there, and let's say for whatever reason, if you need another team, you got Philly right there that could be thrown in.
I wanted to put Philly with Pittsburgh. I think they need to be in the same division with Ohio, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. Those 4 teams in one division.
It may not be possible for every team. But what if they made it where your in-state or closest state team, you guys have to be in the same division? So I know Indianapolis, like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. You guys are in the same division. What are the next 2 teams we're going to throw in there with you guys? North Carolina doesn't have it, but you can say DC.
Tennessee's close.
Yeah, for who?
North Carolina. Tennessee's really close.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could say Tennessee, you could say Washington. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Baltimore, because Maryland's right there. Now you got DC and Baltimore. They're close to Carolina. Tennessee's right there. That's a whole nother division with all the matchups there. So it would definitely. And then obviously you got now the only one that you probably would complain about would be the NFC South, I guess you would call it, with Atlanta, Jacksonville, Tampa, and Miami all in the same division. But hey, the traveling is not bad, so everybody could literally go to every game.
Oh, exactly. I like that, and I felt that way with it for a while about how the divisions are just stupid, and I think a lot of that too was them banking on a lot more expansion teams coming in and then being able to continuously shift the divisions. But where I agree with you is I think that'd be cool to see every 5 to 10 years. Maybe not even that long. Maybe every 2 to 5 years you see them switch them up and change. And I'd like to see that across all the sports, honestly. Basketball, baseball. I mean, the hard one for me, obviously, would be the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry because that's just one of the greatest in sports. But
you can still keep it.
They're in a close division, but to see the Mets get in that division and the Phillies, Baltimore's already in that division, but I mean that would be a good one.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, every league will be different, but yeah, it will certainly be something new to see. And you know what? One thing I would like to see across the board for all sports is I'd like to see get rid of the conferences for the postseason. You take the top teams and one plays the bottom, just like we do in college. There's no conferences. Okay, if you're in the NCAA bracket, number 1 plays 16, 2, 15, so on and so forth. Should be the same way. So in the NBA, the top 16 teams, 1 plays 16, 2 plays 15, and we find out from there who the best team in the NBA is. We get much better matchups. We get matches we probably wouldn't see. It's a damn shame that we never got to see Kobe Bryant versus LeBron James in the NBA Finals. We would have got to see them play each other had the conferences been away, and it was just the best play, playing the top 16 teams. How it would have lined up. There was actually 2 years we would have got to see them play in the postseason. So you get fresh matchups, and now with everyone flying private jets and whatnot, or charter flights and everything. You don't got to necessarily worry about going in and taking regular transportation. So why not? It would be a lot easier, and you really do answer the question, who's the best team? One thing that sucks is to see teams in one conference that doesn't get into the postseason because they didn't make the top 8. But then these teams over here who have below 500 records, they got in because they're over here. It's like, no, dude, the best should be rewarded for that.
No, I agree with you on that. I would like to actually see it go like that because you get to see it. My only thing with that is I feel like we'd have to have a little bit more, not much, just a little bit more interleague play. Where if you're going to take them out of, the divisions out of the playoffs, I feel like they should play a little more interleague. So then it's not, oh, well, you played this division or you got all these, because those arguments are going to come up.
Of course, it's never going to be a perfect system, and it's never going to be. It's always going to be something to complain about. But you know what? That comes with the territory. And you just move forward with that. Like for the NBA, I was thinking this, man. This is going to sound horrible. I almost want to say, man, you need to try to put your big market teams against each other more often. There's no way in the hell the Lakers and the Knicks should only play twice per year. They should play at least 4-6 times a year. You know what I mean? Same thing with Chicago, the Detroit teams when they're good, Miami, et cetera, et cetera. You should find a way to put them against each other more often. Those games are always going to be fun to watch. It's going to draw in big crowds, and it's obviously going to do good ratings rise for you, which ultimately is what you want. So it's a lot to be changed, but I also do understand there's going to be a lot of drawback and kickback to it, but it's, as we've seen over the years, if you look back far enough in any sport, things weren't what they are now. They've changed. So why not continue to change them?
No, 100%. And everything, and that's the whole thing we talk about all the time is adapt or die. Yep. You got to keep changing. You got to keep the sports relevant. It's like I always said about NASCAR. They always kept trying to keep the sport relevant with changing rules and the cars and this and that. And I felt like there was a lot of other things they could have did to keep the sport relevant. And you're seeing some of that this year. They've opened their eyes a little bit and have changed a lot, which is a good thing. And all across sports, we need to see that more. We need to see that everywhere. Yeah. People just opening up and different ways of thinking. Because, listen, nobody ever – you look at one of the greatest we're ever going to probably see in football and Belichick as a coach, and the man changes from quarter to quarter, snap to snap. Absolutely unbelievable. And to me, that's the most important part, because a lot of people are deadly afraid of change. Deadly afraid of change. And we see that in the world all the time with why people act the way they do, because they're afraid of change. So I think if people were a little more open to it, we'd have better sports. And I think we need to get more young people into the mix and not as much of this, oh, well, this guy's got 50 years of experience. Yeah, maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, you know what? That definitely could. You're definitely onto something there. You can't change. You can't change modern problems with old time thinking. Yep. Sometimes it works, and obviously, people will look at movies where Clint Eastwood at 86 years old is still doing things his way and it works out. And it's like, yeah, it works when it's a script and it's written that way, and that's what you're supposed to do. It's not necessarily reality. It's good to see athletes continue to, people talk about, well, today's athletes. Look, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, weren't all these guys playing at a time when they were making stances? So it's not a brand new thing. We see it more now because of social media and all the avenues in which you could take in information, but it's nothing new. And I wanted to ask you this, since you brought it up. For NASCAR, I've always wondered this. It's obviously a very tough sport. It doesn't look like it to the untrained eye, but once you watch a couple of races, you kind of realize, like, man, that's actually pretty tough to go, 200 miles an hour, for 4.5, 5 hours in a scorching hot car. But
2 inches away from somebody.
Yeah, 2 inches away, where the wrong little twitch, it's rolling.
I can't. People have drive next to me on 15 at 60 without them almost hitting me.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So, but I've always wondered, would it be too much of a change that just wouldn't work if they ever try to do like a brand new track where it wasn't just left turns in a circle? You see the IndyCar race, I'm not sure if that's what it's called, overseas. I mean, they're even out through towns and boom.
There's many road courses on NASCAR. Actually, they just ran the Daytona road course for the first time. They've never ran the Daytona road course before. NASCAR did it for the first time to actually, like we were talking about, change. And this is the first year they did it. And it was a phenomenal race. What made the race so great, though, was with, unfortunately, all the new stuff in the world we live in, with COVID and everything, none of these guys get to practice or qualify anymore. So these guys jumped on a track on race day, 700 horsepower cars, on a track they've never driven on, and had to go out there and run this race, 43 guys. That was great racing. Really, yeah. That was great racing, because they were going like every lap was 2 to go. They were just beating each other up and driving hard. But there's a lot of talk, because there's about 3 or 4 road courses that the series runs. Watkins Glen, Sonoma, Charlotte, the Roval is a new one where they took Charlotte Motor Speedway and made it into a road course, and Daytona. But basically, the way the cars are set up, they're set up to go left at high speeds and high banking. But you can take them on a road course. It's just basically making the cars go right at those speeds would be a completely different setup of what they'd have to build the car. But yeah, they've been adding new tracks. They're trying to get old tracks back. Something a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't either up until a couple of years ago when I actually did the research, because I was on a radio show back in North Carolina, and we had a bunch of NASCAR people that used to come in and do the show with us, and they were old officials, old engine builders, stuff like that. And one of the things that was brought up was a track in North Carolina is a very popular track, North Wilkesboro. And it's beloved by all the old NASCAR drivers. That's where a lot of the famous Dale Earnhardt races you see, he owned that track basically. And I don't mean, you know what I mean? Like, he won a lot of races there.
That was his Square Garden.
Exactly. Yeah. And he did that to a lot of tracks, but that was his place because it was a hometown track. There's a lot of tracks like that across the circuit that have died out. And the problem with that is that I found out it wasn't that the tracks weren't getting good ticket sales or TV ratings or the drivers didn't like them or anything like that. It was these tracks have TV deals the same way sports teams do.
Okay.
So I can't believe I can't think. Oh, Bruton Smith. There we go. Bruton Smith owns a lot of tracks on the NASCAR circuit. He owns Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Texas Motor Speedway, Charlotte Motor Speedway. Basically anything that says Motor Speedway after it, Bruton Smith owns. Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Wow.
So he owns a lot of tracks on the circuit. So by that, he can tell them, no, I don't want you running at this small track. So they won't run there. So they pick other tracks. So it's politics just like everything else in any other sport. So that's why you don't see certain tracks new tracks get ran. That's why you'll see them revamp Charlotte, revamp Daytona to make them into a road course, both of those tracks, because they don't want to build a new one or bring back an old one. But Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been a heavy advocate for North Wilkesboro. He actually brought iRacing there. They mapped the whole track and did a NASCAR event with drivers. And they actually did a whole series while NASCAR was under this whole COVID thing. They did a whole iRacing series with drivers, which actually I didn't know if you had heard about that, but that's also how old Kyle Larson lost his job.
I heard about it briefly, but I'm not as in the know with NASCAR. So to me, when I heard it, I almost felt like, okay, so this is just my mind. Okay, so somebody got traded. Okay, cool. It didn't register as something major. It kind of registered as yeah, this is what happens this year. It was this guy next year. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was just normal.
Kyle Larson was racing in the iRacing series, and he was under a team under Ganassi Racing, driving the 42 cars, sponsored by Target, Capital One, McDonald's. Well, Kyle Larson is a Asian American man from California. He made a racist comment and dropped the N-bomb on a live stream.
Yeah.
His sponsors, Chevrolet, NASCAR, everybody dropped him and banned him from the sport immediately.
Yeah, makes sense.
Gone. This actually was not the first time he had said something. He had actually made a racist comment towards Asians one time while, I don't want to say racist comment, but he'd made a comment. So it wasn't the first time. But what's funny about it to me is now there's people talking about, well, should he be able to come back in racing? To me, absolutely not. You blew your shot. It's gone. It's over. The other thing to me, and this is very important, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way. With the strides NASCAR has made this year, the absolute worst thing they could do for the sport is even entertain the idea of allowing him back.
I'm with you.
Because all that does is negate all the stuff you just did. All the hard work, all the getting behind people, showing people you're not this down-home redneck sport that everybody thinks it is. And that would really mess with it. And I hope it doesn't happen because I'm really proud of NASCAR and everything they've done and the way they've changed and brought a lot of light to their sport that, hey, we're not this back-home redneck sport. We want to be one of the, when ESPN and Fox and all these big networks talk about stuff, and even us, we want to be the ones people are talking about. We want to be in the light.
I gotta admit, man, I'm very shocked, but I'm also very pleased with what they've been doing because, look, my interest in NASCAR started with Days of Thunder, like probably a lot of people. But then, I would tune in and watch it, and some of the big names, yeah, I know them because you always hear them. But it was also a sport where I was like, you know what, I'm good, just because the mindset was probably all those drivers probably all think the same way. All the people in the crowd all think the same way, and I'm good. You know what I'm saying? You guys do your sport, and I'm good. But to see that, no, man, we don't know. And obviously, I know that sounds ignorant, but no, we're not all like that. And actually, we're not just going to stand by and be like, well, I just want to play. No, they're like, nah, man, this is wrong, and we're going to make a stride for it. So to see those changes, not only, with Bubba Wallace, but, I believe I talked about it either here or on another podcast, where even I believe he's the commissioner or the president now of NASCAR. He was even saying, no, we wanted to get rid of the Confederate flag a few years ago, but I wasn't in a position to get rid of some of the older heads who had power. But once they got out, it was going to be a whole new regime. To hear and then to see the action behind it, and to see the drivers, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was talking about how he's so proud of it, and even even his fan base. And I want you rooting for me if this is how you want to be towards one of our drivers. It's amazing to see that because it is a good sport, and I've never been to one, but from everyone who I've known, that has gone to a NASCAR event, they all rave at how much fun it is, which I can imagine. Bunch of drinking, some music, some
And
kidding.
hold on, really quick. You are 100% right about all of what you said about it is a great time. And the people in the sport are not that way because a lot of the drivers are from California. Kevin Harvick, Jeff Gordon, not that he's a new driver, but Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Noah Gregson's from here, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch. A lot of these guys aren't even from the South for the most part. The old drivers were. Well, you know what, Joe? I didn't know there was one going on, or I would have.
That's probably why we got off. We were like, no, if I stay off of here and don't mention nothing, Rich can't mess it up.
But no, with NASCAR though, it's really nice to see everything they've done. I'm glad to see them moving in the right direction, and more than anything with them, they had a driver development program. So they have a guy, Daniel Suarez. He's from Mexico. They have Bubba Wallace. They have that development program has been going on for a while. I think with the recent stuff that's gone on, you're going to see more of that. And the more fans that come to NASCAR, the more sponsors that come to NASCAR, the more drivers we can get into the sport, especially through that development program.
Definitely, man. There's going to come a time where we're going to be seeing Cadillacs out there, and we're going to be seeing lowriders out there, little Honda Civics. Man, it's going to be a whole different NASCAR pretty soon. Books, man, it's going to be fun.
You laugh. I've got some insider stuff with NASCAR, but I've heard for a while, and I'm talking 2 years. So they're moving to a new gen car next year. They're changing the car again. They're going to single lug nut, so it won't be the 5 hits on the lug. It'll be like an F1 car. One lug, boom, change a tire, goes. Pit stop should be a lot faster.
Wow.
But what NASCAR is actually looking into is they're trying to get teams like Honda and Nissan and some of these other companies into the sport to help it grow in Europe, in Japan, in these other places, because NASCAR wants to do the same thing. They want to go over to these other countries and go race. They did it in Japan.
Some of those tracks, woo-hoo-hoo!
They brought the Cup cars over to Japan in the 90s and late 90s, and it was unbelievable. But what they're doing is they're going to move into trying to get these Hondas and all these others in there. That's why these new gen cars are starting to look the way they are, because they're trying, like Volkswagen's another one they're trying to get in there. But just the more they do that, the bigger they make the sport, and the more they keep staying down this right path. I think eventually they can be one of these sports where, yes, they're not looked at like you were talking about earlier. And just so the whole FSM world, all of our loyal viewers know, I am going to eventually take Kalani to a NASCAR race. I will bring him to one. And maybe what we'll do is we'll bring the GoPro and we'll video it and maybe make a YouTube video out of it or something so everybody can check it out. But
man,
like I said,
I'm like the fool out there, man. I'm having me a good old time.
I'll take you through. We'll do the garages and the pits, and you get to stand in the back and watch them do the tire changes and everything, like from where they are.
Hey, let me know beforehand. I'm going to watch Days of Thunder and Talladega Nights, and I'm going to come in here and act like I know what I'm talking about.
No, that's the way to do it. That's what I like to do right before I go in there. Watch Talladega Nights.
I'm just going to come in there and be like this. Hey, what you want to do is you want to shave a little bit. So you want to hit the rotary cup back here, get it down to the rotary. What are you talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about, man. Bam.
Stay in the draft. Don't bump them. Right? Stay out of the dirty air.
You know what I want to do? I want to go to one of the drivers, like he's just prepping, like he's in his thing, looking at the tablet, whatever. I just want to come and be like, hey, man. Remember that time you got kicked out of biology for playing with Matchbox cars? Who's retarded now? Yeah. I might be the first non-drunk person to get kicked out of NASCAR, but it'd be fun.
No, you'd be the second after me.
They
just can't tell me I'm not allowed back. That's the problem.
Exactly. It'd be a lot of fun. But what you were saying earlier and what you just said now, like with the different style of cars coming in, and then you said earlier with the way the cars are built, it's really for left-handed turns. Look, man, I know it's a lot of money and it's a change, but I just wonder if you're going to bring in new cars, you maybe want to make it where you can make right turns, and you could do, it doesn't have to be nothing crazy. I'm not talking about do a fast and furious trackside race, but if you could just throw, a right turn in here and there, some, and do some different obstacles, you could definitely get, I would think, maybe more interesting races, and it kind of opens you up now to a lot more different tracks. I don't know if it would be possible. I really don't, but I wonder, and maybe you would know, is there any city in the U.S. that you could do maybe half of NASCAR race on the actual streets? Like if they blocked it all off, if they said on August 30th, we're going to block off the Las Vegas Strip from here to here, but it's going to be an official NASCAR race. Like this will count towards your
They do that in Long Beach, California.
Okay.
They don't run the cup cars there. They run the Indy cars there, and they run the stadium trucks there, and like the GTLM cars. But they 100% could run the cup cars around there without a doubt. But it goes back to, like I said, it goes back to all these TV rights and these guys that own these tracks, that own 5 tracks. They want the TV stuff at their tracks. But I agree with you. I actually laugh. I brought that up because in North Carolina, which is where I lived, was Mooresville, which is Race City, USA. You could actually mail something to Race City, USA, and it'll go to Mooresville. Like their cop cars had checkered flags on them. The water tower in the center of the town had checker flags all over. It's a race city. That's where all the cup teams are and everything. But they have this highway that runs around the city of Charlotte. And it's like 5 lanes wide, and it's literally a freaking circle that just goes around the entire city of Charlotte.
Oh, man.
And I always joked around about them taking the cup cars or Indy cars or something like that and running them around there 6 wide at 200 miles an hour.
Yes.
But you laugh out here with the roads, how flat the roads are in some areas. You could totally do it out here. The only thing with them is a wreck because
that's true.
You're not getting to that car for a long time. And that's scary because some of these guys, they get knocked unconscious, cars on fire, they can't get out of the car. And these NASCAR tracks are really good about getting their pit crews there, which I love all of those guys. They do a great job, and you always got to say thank you to them.
No, definitely, man. I mean, it no matter what field you're in, man, to be in the medical field to help people, possibly save lives and limbs and whatnot, that's always going to be tough. And they do a good job of making sure that they get out there as fast as possible. From any wrecks that I've seen, it does not take long for them to get there. Granted, it's in one location. That's true. You can work that out there, but I definitely would love it to see just a different look for a NASCAR race, just a little different. Not all the time, but just every now and then it'd be nice to see a different look, a different track, something appealing. I would even say, and obviously I know athletes or drivers are creatures of habit. Hell, man, if they do certain races on different tracks, switch up the cars, man. Hell, hey, you guys, instead of being in these particular ones, like you kind of said earlier, hey, man, you guys are going to be racing Honda Civics. You'll be in Toyotas. You know what I'm saying? You'll be in fucking Mustangs. Let's switch it up a little bit. Drive. And kind of like you said with the new track that they were on, that they have never been on before. Hey, man, let's see what we get here. It might be a little entertaining.
You had great racing out of that. And they actually used to run an IROC series where they would take the top drivers and they put them in these IROC cars that look completely different than NASCARs. They were built similar, but they looked like Firebirds. They were very pointy. But they were phenomenal racing. I mean, unbelievable racing. And I think a lot of the issues with NASCAR that you're going to see is they need to get back to the old school. The problem is now they took stock cars. They took Bel Airs and Malibus and all these old cars and put roll cages in them and tweaked up the carburetors and ran them. Now you have fully engineered race cars. You've moved so far from where it is that, like you're saying, I've actually heard a lot of things about them wanting to go to electric as well.
Ooh,
which would make for really good racing. It would just suck to be at the track because you're used to hearing, 900 horsepower cars go right by you versus hearing what would sound like 30 RC cars running by.
That Tesla doesn't make any sound. I don't believe. Can you imagine the whole race going by and everyone just sitting there? Hey, Rich. Hey, man, this is a lot of fun. Why are you yelling? This is what we normally do here. My ears are.
The cars are coming.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. And it's just you. Yeah, man, it would be different. But you know what? Again, it's times are changing, man. There's nothing wrong with trying something new. And look, it doesn't have to be permanent. You could try it. Hey, does it work? Are these things compatible for what we're trying to do? If not, okay, maybe we could do it for a few races or whatever, and then go back, whatever the case may be. But that would be something to see. And I think it would be pretty awesome just because, it's something new for the drivers, something new for the fans. And, like you were saying, if you guys are trying to expand, you got to be willing to not change the sport, but at times you got to be willing to try to experiment with a few things to try to find out, okay, what works here, and then let's make lemonade out of this. So it'll be interesting to see how it is, and I'm very excited actually to check out NASCAR going forward and how that goes. Simply because one, a lack of sports right now, but two, with the changes, and then with some of the drivers we have, man, it's going to be fun to see how these guys compete with each other going forward. Because for the most part, that's where you do have rivalries, but it's honestly like a respectful competition. Like, yeah, I want to kick your ass, but outside of Tony Stewart's crazy ass or this guy's weirdo self, we kind of all just sit here and respect the fact that hey, we're racers, So it's pretty fun.
And these guys bring a lot of energy, and you've seen it from everybody. You've seen Jimmy Johnson, one of the nicest guys on the track, him try and go after people. Joey Logano, looks like a kid, nice guy on the track, him go after people. I mean, Bubba went after a guy one day, spilled, he didn't go after him, he just splashed water on his head, but he was mad at him. He was, but it doesn't matter. The coolest, calmest, and Bubba's the nicest guy in there. See the coolest, calmest guys in there, and they'll go because they're competitors. They're athletes. As much as people don't want to say it, they are athletes. You go sit in your car at G's, which you'll never be able to do in your car because you're not going 180 or 202, but at G's at 130 degrees with a fire suit on, and you can't itch your nose because you'll crash.
Yeah.
And people, they don't give enough respect to those drivers, and a lot of people that I talk to don't give enough respect to those drivers and what they do for their bodies. But something I wanted to get up to, a lot of people need to check out the last few races of the season for sure, because this is Jimmy Johnson's last year. 7-time champion, only him, Dale Earnhardt Sr., and Richard Petty have 7 championships in the sport. They got a couple of races left in the year. If he could win a race, he's really close in points. He's right at the bubble on points, so he can make his last playoff. If he were to win 8, he'd be the only driver to win 8. He's the only guy to win 3 in a row, and he's the only guy to win 5 in a row. Yeah. My man's the GOAT. 5-peated, dude. 5-peated. Unbelievable. You know how freaking hard that is doing anything? Here's the craziest part about it, though, too. After the second year, every year after the second one, they change the car every year and the point system every year to try and stop him. Finally, when he won the 5, 2 years went by, he won 6. 2 years went by, he won 7. So when he went to win 7, they had changed the point system so much to the point where basically they were like, okay, you just got to win at the last track. You got to make the playoffs, but you just got to be there in the top, out of the top 4 drivers, you got to be the first one out of those 4 guys at the last track, which was Homestead, Miami, which was one of the only tracks on the circuit Jimmy had never won at. When he won his 7th championship was his first win at Homestead, Miami.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. You talk about the GOAT, man. This guy was next level or is next level still. This is last year, though. But what I was telling everybody is Darlington, one of the races coming up, he's going to be rocking a scheme to honor Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt Sr. The side of the car is going to have Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s paint scheme, and the roof of the car is going to have Richard Petty's paint scheme. So it'll basically be the 2 7-time champions paint schemes with the other 7-time champion driving it. I actually pre-ordered the diecast for that car because I'm so stoked about it. But I just want everybody to go and check these last few races out. Make sure you at least, if you haven't in your life before, you can at least see him race one time because he is one of the greatest to ever get behind the wheel of a race car.
That's something that regardless of what the sport is, whether you're into it or not, if you get a chance to see one of the all-time, that's very rare. That's very rare, whether it's because of location, age, whatever the case may be. But if you get a chance, man, definitely check it out. It just like with Richard Petty. I remember Richard Petty more so for his look. The cowboy hat, glasses, and the mustache, as opposed to remember him as a racer. Dale, mustache. I remember black and white and black, but the stash and that scowl when he put the shades on, where it was like, "I'm gonna get
the intimidator."
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So it's some things you just didn't get to see, but to see other guys and to see one of the all-time greats right here, especially on his last hurrah. If you definitely get a chance to check it out, definitely do that. Whether baseball, golf, whatever, you get to see one of the best to ever do it. Definitely make time for it because they don't come around often. Like you said, it's three of us. This sport's been around for a long time, and it's only three of us. So we know 7-time winners don't come around too often. So it'll be interesting to check that out and whatnot. Now, speaking of interesting to check out, okay, this weekend once again. See, before I get into the fights, this is what kind of messes me up. When things get back to normal and the UFC goes back to its normal schedule, boy, it's gonna suck because we've been having every weekend since like 6 weeks after the pandemic started. Every weekend's been a UFC fight, and So we are just spoiled right now to where it's almost like, it's a UFC fight. That's what it's supposed to be. But it is going to be a lot of fun to check out. Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up right now. Oh, damn it, I had it up. Let me pull it back up real quick. But it's going to be another UFC fight card, UFC Fight Night. Anthony Smith is going to be taking on – hold on one second. Hold on, damn it. So, forgive me on the names. See, I went to public school in the inner city. But a light heavyweight between Anthony Smith and Alexander Rekic. Where's he from? Hold on. Where's he from? Okay, he's from Austria. Ooh, Arnold Schwarzenegger's town. You also got former welterweight champion Robbie Lawler returning against Neil Magny. Alexa Grasso is going to be on the card. Ricardo Lamas. So once again, it's going to be a good fight card. And one thing we've seen during this time with these fight cards is that even if sometimes you don't know all the fighters, just like with this past weekend, you're going to get some good fights. So if you guys check them out, hey, it's on ESPN. Tune in, kick back and relax and watch it. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun.
And you know what actually has been nice, as much as sports have been so crazy, you look at I've had the opposite problem recently that I've had a couple months ago. It was like there was nothing on to now I'm running out of TV screens because the playoff basketball game's on, playoff hockey's on, there's a baseball game on. And with such a short season, it's not like, the 160 game season where you're like, the 20 games in, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, 20 games is like almost 80 to 90 games almost. Like you really
20 games is the equivalent of about 60 now.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
in a regular season.
And one thing we're seeing with baseball, it seems like almost every day you're seeing highlights of somebody having like a really great performance. Like before, like during a regular season, it seemed like maybe once a week or every now and then, but it seems like every day, not just like one home run. It's like, hey, this guy hit 4 home runs. This guy hit a no-hitter through 8 innings, or this team ran off 7 home runs. Like you're definitely seeing a lot more exciting play in baseball throughout more consistently, and maybe that's because of the shortened season. These guys are a little bit fresh and eager to get out.
That is.
And do they're playing, but it makes for a lot of fun. Look, I've watched more baseball than I have in the last, I would say, 15 years, and it's been fun, man, to tune in, watch it, trying to get to know the players, hear what they're good at, what they need to work on, and then to see the performances. So it's been a lot of fun. Same thing with the fights. As hardcore as a fan if I am, I'm sitting here watching. I'm just like, damn, dude, I didn't realize you were going to make that big of an adjustment in this particular time frame. So, and then imagine, we still got the NFL coming up. Dude, Rich, have you done a fantasy football league this year?
No, and I actually asked Joe right before baseball started if he had a fantasy baseball league, but I do want to do a fantasy football league if you guys got one.
I got 4 fantasy baseball teams, just because I enjoy doing fantasy. Once I got past like the 8th round, I was really just guessing.
I got an idea. We're going to have to talk to Joe about this, but I got a really good idea. What if we do a fantasy football team? Everybody pays into a pot like normal, small pot, but you get a championship ring. We'll get one of those fake rings off of eBay online, you know what I'm saying? So you get a championship ring, but now here's the kicker. I think we either do it first year one way or the other way, and then second year the next way. But I'm thinking we either do an FSM fantasy football league versus the fans. So basically have 8 fans that we pick or win a, pick a number. We pick the number, they win, they get in. And we do us versus them to see if the fans really think they know more than us.
You know what? That could be interesting. That could be interesting to say the least. I'm definitely down for it, especially I would say maybe the second or third year we should probably do us versus the fans. But you know what? If we do it this year, I'm all for it. But
we're going to have to talk to Joe about this because I think this is something to be cool.
We definitely have to talk about him because we got to get the Sheba going. For those of y'all that watch the league, the Sheba is the title that you get at the end. But it'd be a lot of fun. Hey, look, I'm glad you said championship rings because if you said that one stupid league where the loser has to get a tattoo that the league decides on, oh hell no.
Listen to me. I laugh because I saw this meme the other day and cracked me up. So I'm big into my tattoos. I really like my tattoos. I like them done well. And people that do them have to know the source material or be into the source material. Mm-hmm. I saw something funny the other day where it was this lady clutched her bag when this guy with tattoos walked by her, and she like clutched it and looked at him. And he said, "Lady, I got more money on my arm than that purse costs." And I feel that way, like with my arm. And I would never in a million years do that. My buddy made a bet with my other friend, which is so messed up. He made a bet that if LeBron James didn't make it to whatever it was, 9 straight or 10, whatever the streak was with the NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. Well, that first year he went to the Lakers and it didn't happen. The bet was either $10,000 in cash or my buddy got to pick a tattoo that he could put on him anywhere on his body except his face. Mm. So my buddy that won the bet is a huge Panthers fan. The guy that lost the bet is a huge Falcons fan. My buddy wanted to cover, this guy's got a Falcons tattoo on his shoulder. My buddy wanted to cover his Falcons tattoo with a Panthers tattoo.
Oh, that's so fucked up. That's so fucked up.
I said it'd be better to get in big bold letters right under it 28-3.
Yeah. That would be better. That would be better. I understand the disrespect of putting your logo over his logo. In fact, I would say don't even cover it up. Because the Falcon one goes vertical, vertical. The Panthers goes more horizontal. Put yours to where the Panthers' head is coming out the side, but you can still see the Falcons one. But you make sure your blue outline and they're on top of that, to where you can only see the top of the Falcon or the bottom part of it and whatnot. It's right there in the middle. That's why, see what that used to be? We own that shit now. Don't cover it up.
No, right? But definitely with the fantasy football thing, it's either got to be a ring or a championship belt or some kind of a fake Lombardi trophy, because you can find them for like $40-$50 anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
It's something along those lines.
We should definitely do something like that. And that would be a lot of fun, man. That would be a lot of fun. And hopefully Joe doesn't rig the draft so he gets all the picks. And it'll be interesting. I'm
Number one pick back to back.
Yeah. How'd you get the first 3 picks, man? How is that even possible? Hey, man, we wanted to do.
I don't know how to. I ain't got nothing in the second and third round, man. I got screwed. What do you want me to tell you?
He somehow find a way. You know how normally you would have like an auction or a snake. You know, if you pick first in the first round, you pick last in the second round. He'd find a way to make it where it goes 1 to 10 in the first round. The second round, 1 to 10, 1 to 10 in each round. Like, dude, how do you get the first pick in every round? How do you set that up? Hey, man, I don't know. It was an auto thing, man. It just that's the way the draft is. No, Joe, we all played it before. You cheated. You cheated.
What do you think about defense? Because I actually like drafting like 2 defensive players at each position. So like 2 D line, 2 linebackers, 2 corners.
I used to have a league between me and some buddies when I was in the military, and that's what I did as well. You could pick a team defense, but I also wanted defensive players, so you could draft defensive guys. Because look, there was guys who were on bad defenses who could get you some good points. So we definitely had that. I had it where you could do 2 quarterbacks. The 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, your 3 receivers, the tight end, your flex, 1 team defense, and your kicker, and then you could pick. I think it was like 5 defensive players, and that's what I went there. So we had quite a few weeks where it was like 437 to 430 for your weekly score. So it was a lot of fun, though. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but those defensive players, man, they do make a big difference because there was weeks where like I had a lot of pretty good defensive players, but Luke Kuechly. Yeah. Man, every week that dude was a cornerstone for those tackles, just guaranteed points every week. And that's like some of your safeties. I mean, you look at guys like Jamal Adams, every week he's getting tackles for losses, forced fumbles. Earl Thomas, he's going to get his tackles and picks. And it helps. It really does.
The sneaky thing to do is not to get one of the star guys, but to get some of the guys who are like right in the middle, who are on average or below average defenses. They're going to be on the field a whole lot, which means I get more chances at tackling guys. So I get that safety that might be, if you look at the safety, it might be like number 7 or 8, but he gets like 8 or 9 tackles a game simply because their defense sucks. The Lions defense sucks. So he gets a whole bunch of tackles. So yeah, man, it's definitely a lot of fun you can have with it. And when we get a chance, man, talking with Joe about it, we should definitely see how it goes and how many people, because I think the minimum you can have is 8. So if or 6 or 8, but if we get enough people on to do it, man, it'd be a lot of fun. And you know what? If we do that, we can almost do like a weekly podcast where we get more people on, and we can all kind of talk about it, either leading into the game or afterwards. And the winner could gloat, and the losers can just pop.
Yeah, fantasy pod.
Yeah, that'll be something. Another podcast that'll run 6 hours every day because Joe wants to talk.
Speaking of which, I've actually got to get up at about 5 a.m. So I was to see if there's any other points you had to bring up.
The only point I got to bring up is Michael Jordan is highly overrated.
On that note, everybody, I'm Richie Lupo. This is Kalani Lua. We appreciate you joining us for another night of FSM After Dark. And we will see you next time. Everybody have a wonderful evening and a great day tomorrow.
Peace.